Hey, it's Crown Talk time with Burgundy. I'm your host, Burgundy Mallory White. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If you are a veteran, welcome back. We're so excited to have you back onto our YouTube channel. Now, if you are a newbie, welcome to Crown Talk with Burgundy. CTWB radio talk show and YouTube channel is all about the good, the bad, positive, and sometimes the ugly of pageantry. However, we strive and we make sure we pride ourselves in positive pageantry and finding out the truth of what's going on in the pageant world. Remember, while you are sitting back, relaxing, and enjoying the show, remember to like and comment in the comment section. Yes, you can do that while we are live right now, or you can do it a little bit later. Most of all, please subscribe to our channel, which is at Crown Talk with Burgundy on our YouTube channel. Now, tonight on Crown Talk with Burgundy, we have the gorgeous and talented Miss Christina Williamson. So we'll talk about her a little bit later because I'm so excited to have her on. You all know her as being a former Miss Tennessee and America's Ideal Miss. She was a Miss Tennessee volunteer and actually the first ever to be with the volunteer organization as a title holder. So we'll get to her very, very soon. But prior to introducing her, we do have just a couple of announcements. With those announcements, we'd like to congratulate all of the CTWB team Sapphires who competed at Universal Miss National Pageant and National Miss US Pageant and the Moco County Miss Independence this past weekend. So thank you so much for going out there and setting the stage on fire. You all did that and you rocked the stage. Good luck to all of the Team Sapphire ladies that are actually vying for titles this weekend. We're so proud of all your hard work and determination, and good luck at your various pageants. Now, in addition, we do not want you to forget to tune in and watch the Miss Junior High and High School and Collegiate America pageant. Remember, you can watch that July 2nd through the 8th at www.pageantvision.com. So you can go in there and either sign up or you can just watch the show live. They have different packages to help you out. But also, you can watch the Elementary America. They're right now competing. They had interview today. The older girls had filming today. So it's just been a glorious time over in Arkansas. But yes, you can watch Elementary America, and that is going to be July 29th through the 30th. And again, tune in on www.pageantvision.com. Now, talking about a little bit about America's Majestic Miss, you don't want to forget to tune in because Crown Talk with Burgundy will be there live on Friday and Saturday, and we will be streaming the live pageant of America's Majestic Miss. So you will get to see who the new title holders are going to be. Again, remember that is going to be Friday through Saturday. So you do not want to miss that opportunity. Okay, so enough about Crown Talk with Burgundy. We are so excited, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the outstanding and remarkable Christine Electra Williamson. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I love the hype up. If you could just wake me up with that every morning, that'd be amazing.
Yes. I'm so excited to have you on the show. And just I know you and I have been, we had a pre-show and we kind of just got to talk to each other, but we didn't even get to talk about the questions. We talked about Kat. So you are such an amazing and remarkable person that I'm very excited that our viewers are going to be able to tune in and to listen to learn more about you. And I know that we have all your social media links and sites and everything like that, and we'll be sharing that throughout the show. But we definitely want to be able to see who you are as an individual. So speaking of that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you are getting the real authentic Christine, because I was, like we were talking about beforehand, I had an allergic reaction to some sort of makeup. So we're getting no filter, but a ring light Christine. So I was Miss Tennessee 2018, was able to compete at Miss America. Yeah, I was Miss Tennessee 2018 volunteer 2018, and I was also Miss America, America's Ideal Miss. There's so many misses, I keep forgetting where they're placed. America's Ideal Miss 2021, and I'm excited to get to go back and help present flowers this year with our fabulous director. I'm still on the board of Miss Volunteer America as the contestant liaison, and right now I currently work as the Creator Services Director at Ubiquitous Influence Marketing, and I am the mother of two very needy geriatric cats here in downtown Chattanooga.
Oh my goodness. Well, you sound like you are so busy. When do you have time to rest?
Occasionally, and far few and in between. A lot of people don't know that I am very much an extroverted introvert. Like, I love being around people. I love, especially this last week with Miss Volunteer America, I love seeing, it feels like a family reunion, but
Yeah.
I will also spend a couple weekends alone. Like, I'll go see my family this weekend. I think I have one event to go to, and then I'll go see them at the lake and spend time with them. But I am one of those people that has to have alone time to charge. I feel like my cats always know, and they're like laying on top of me, like, "Mother, you don't need to leave the house." But
I get
taking
that.
that time, and I am a huge advocate of hot works. I can walk to a location in downtown Chattanooga, and so what I love is you can book it and see if there's anybody in there. So taking that time for yoga or Pilates, or if I want to do a quick 15-minute hit session. And I'm not a heat person, but it's a dry heat and it's okay. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. Just having
Okay.
that time to center myself and to really get ready for my day. I never thought I'd be a morning person, but the 5:30 a.m. slots are my favorite. And just having that time of like getting out whenever I need to get out, or centering myself for the day. If it's been a rough day, then I save the workout for that night. And I feel like that's when I have my like therapy session on the Stairmaster.
I gotcha. Well, I feel like that 5:30 wake up call is like pageant, like have to maybe have hair and makeup at 5:30. So I think pageant girls and men, we can like totally understand that. And
Oh, absolutely.
by the way, you still look absolutely gorgeous. I hate that the
Thank
issue
you.
with you being allergic
Oh, dang.
happened, but you still
I
look
wish it
gorgeous.
was like peanut butter or something. Like, I have the dumb, I'm allergic to like nickel, copper, random cosmetic products, and the sun. I'm like, can I just get a normal allergy? That'd be great.
I completely get it. I went through that. What you went through, I went through it a week and a half ago before I had to go to a wedding that I was in. And I was like trying everything I could to just get everything cleared up because I do have eczema. And I was like, I haven't had it in like years. And so
Oh
I was like trying
no.
everything. Before that wedding day, I had it gone.
I mean, spray Benadryl is your friend. Like, I own an obscene amount. And I just found out they have Zyrtec wipes. That was part of
Oh,
my
wow.
research last night.
Look at you. Yes. I was like trying everything. I was like, we've got to figure out the pinpoint. Of course, I called my mom. She
Oh,
knows everything. She's my mom. So it was pretty good to have that. But I completely understand where you're like, let me just have a normal like allergy and we're
I know. I'm
good.
like, I would give anything for it to be like peanut butter or dairy. I probably wouldn't. I don't want to go into anaphylaxis. This one's just annoying. But I like, I was like using Chat GPT to try to analyze everything. Not a one ingredient in common. So if anybody that's a makeup chemist wants to reach out and help me out, like, I'm game.
Post it down in the comments,
Please.
everyone. um, Now, Christine, you reigned as Miss Tennessee America and then transitioned into the first ever Miss Tennessee Volunteer America. How was that transition? Plus, how did it feel to represent what we all know it as now as Miss Volunteer America?
Yeah, it's so winning, to circle back to the very beginning, winning Miss Tennessee was 5 years in the making. I started as a 17-year-old senior in high school that had never put on a two-piece swimsuit. I remember we were talking before about both being 17 when we competed, and when you're
Mhm.
a senior in high school and 17, you get bumped up.
Yeah.
And I went to Kanakuk in Missouri where you wear the Speedo one-piece swimsuits, and I was like, I have to wear a bikini. And it was very surreal this past week getting to chat with some of the women that helped coach me and guide me along the way, and how much things have changed for the better. And just, they're like, it's so weird seeing you as an adult now, like 10 years later. So that said, it was 5 years in the making, and it was a lot of dedication and hard work. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, my goal was to do the job of Miss Tennessee of being the governor's character education spokesperson that's now with the volunteer organization.
Okay.
Win, lose, or draw, I knew that the job of Miss Tennessee was something that was my goal, and that was what I cared most about. And I was able to visit 80,000 or travel 80,000 miles and visit over 73,000 children, which is more than any Miss Tennessee has. Because, and not to give discredit any of what they've done, but I was like, I want to do everything I can and not sleep in the process. So I would wake up at 4 a.m. at least an hour or two before I had to start getting ready and work with my business manager, Rachel Nall, who is a gift from God above. And we made a list of every school district in Tennessee and emailed every superintendent and went from there. I even emailed someone in Oregon on accident because they had the same names as the one in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of hard work, and we wanted to really lay the groundwork for the next girl. And so that was the ultimate goal, is to make the biggest impact I could with the role I had. So when the transition happened, it was of course difficult, but I felt really grateful because while 7 state franchises were revoked, I was the only woman in a position where I had directors standing behind me. And not to say that anybody walked away from anyone, but I was the only one that
Yeah.
had leadership that said, you know, we believe in this and we see what this does for young women. And so we're going to continue. It might be under a different name and franchise. So now I know more about franchise law than I ever care to know. And trademark law, I should say. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about making that impact with the children, because there's so many walks of life you see, and no one can explain it to you until you're in that position. So at the end of the day, that was the goal. And I'm really excited that that's going to be something that continues on, because it's such a special job, and you have such a chance to make an impact. And what I didn't realize at the time is there are so many children that aren't receiving any kind of love or affirmation or affection at home. There are so many kids that aren't being told you can't achieve anything. I mean, I was a 17-year-old girl from Memphis that did have an incredible support system, but didn't know what I was capable of until this organization came around. My dad was the one that actually talked me into competing, and he has been one of my biggest supporters the whole time. I literally today, he doesn't know how to work YouTube, so I can say this. Like, his Miss Tennessee Volunteer 2018 dad pin came in. It's massive. And because he kept wearing his Miss Tennessee's dad pin, and I'm like, that's precious, Dad, but that's a little confusing. And I don't want to be disrespectful to whoever the rating queen is. And then they're going to be confused as to why there's 2 dads, and like, they don't know each other. Anyways, but that said, I've been very grateful to have such amazing support through that whole process. And it always felt like, especially with the volunteer organization, that it was my call, and we'll support you to do whatever you feel is best and whatever you truly want. Like, what if your end goal is doing this, then okay. And I was so fortunate to have Rachel, who is not only just an amazing business manager, to help me through this all while she was working her way through to be a nurse anesthetist and being a mother and a wife and so much more. And I can't say enough good things about her. And she's a former contestant in the Miss Tennessee program, so we love that. She also taught me how to dance, because I can't dance to save my life. So she taught me this swimsuit choreography for 2 months before I won. But it just always felt like my decision, and that was one of the reasons that I aligned with the volunteer organization. It felt like this is something that is your call, and it wasn't anything that was forced. It felt so much up to me. Like, I could ask for advice. It wasn't rushed. It felt like, this is up to you. Like, what's your goal and how can we help you get there? And if this is too much for you, like, okay. It just felt like the ball was in my court, and I was able to choose which direction we went. And to me, that's the best kind of leadership you can ask for, is when they're giving you guidance, and there's certain guidelines that you do have to follow. But when you're listening to the girl who it affects directly, I think that's a direct indicator of if your leadership is listening, if they have your best interest in mind. And that I felt so heard and seen and cared for. And the volunteer family is honestly like my second family. Like, I always joke that I don't know how I look just like my mom and Allison DeMarcus. Like, it's so, because like when we're next to other people are like, oh, Amy Otto, is that you? I'm like, no, Amy's coming. She's down there calling the show. But it is so funny to me because we all look alike.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how that happened, because I didn't grow up in the system. We're not related in any way, but at the end of the day, she always made it my choice, and they were going to help me whichever way that panned out.
Exactly. I wrote a couple of notes down, but just kind of going back to what you said at the beginning when you were answering this, the dedication to the title. I feel like sometimes there are a lot of people that lose that momentum when they gain a title, and it was really pivotal and iconic to be able to see you were going through something that was major. It was all in the media. It was in the news, but you had a mission, a vision, and you had a support system that was behind you. And it wasn't just your family. It was also this organization that was creating something that is going to last forever. And you were able to not only bring your dedication of being a Miss Tennessee to that organization, but also filtered into the legacy that you left as the first Miss Tennessee Volunteer America. So it's very pivotal and important that you were able to focus on what you wanted to do. Sit down, write out a list with you said her name was Rachel, correct? Sit down and write that full list out with her. And you traveled so many miles away just to be able to impact others' lives, whether it was children or adults, on a daily basis. And I feel like we're missing that in some of these pageant organizations, where these ladies are just out for the crown, the sash or the title, but they're not really putting that emphasis on what that title and that sash and that crown means and what it's there for. I always say, and you can see any of my videos, any of my shows that I've done, I'm like, you can go buy that at Amazon. But being able to see, you're
not wrong.
What is it, Alibaba?
Yeah, I mean, a crown is just something that you can purchase, and at the same time, I mean, it is the thing of like, I am so competitive, and so there is that thing of like, I'm gonna win and I'm gonna get it, but it's also knowing your why. There's nothing wrong with knowing the what and what you want, but it's the why. And why, I think some systems are set up where, especially, and it's hard to say with a post-pandemic world, and we're seeing that especially with schools and trying to get girls into them, and I completely understand how difficult that is, especially setting up virtual appearances and that sort of thing. But and if you want to have a shiny crown and sash, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. However, if you are signing up for a system where there is a job involved, in my case, I was paid. It was with First Horizon Volunteers. I was the honorary board chair of Volunteer Tennessee. I promoted my personal platform with the Alzheimer's Association. I was the state ambassador for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals in Tennessee. I'm sure there's other things I could list, but I can't think of them. Yes. But it's a job. Like, I had to quit school. I had to quit work, and like, this was my job. And I was compensated for my costs, and there was a little bit of pay, which was nice to help, because I know my mom and dad were really tired of me looping in their credit card. But that said, if that's what you're signing up for, why not, like, know what you're signing up for? But two, if you have this visibility, why not? I mean, especially when it comes to little children, a crown and a sash does wonders. And so why not make a difference with that? Like, if it's a pageant where it's just a title, okay, I get that. And there's nothing wrong with being competitive, because who doesn't want a shiny hat? Exactly. I mean, I think you can see a couple behind me, but at the same time, if that's what you're signing up for, go in with a game plan and goals. Because one thing that drives me absolutely insane is when girls are like, well, I didn't know. Well, then, girl, you didn't read the packet.
Exactly. And I do love that you said that, it was a job. And I know that I teach that to all of my coaching clients that I coach, that if you're going to go for this pageant, whether it's small, big, little, there's a cause that they're holding this pageant for. And whether that's supporting you with what your platform is, or you supporting them with their platform, you have a job and you have a duty, and that is to represent and be an ambassador. And I do love with like with the Miss Tennessee organization, the Miss Volunteer America organization. They have different points of their crowns. They have different meanings for the crown, and it stands and represents something, and something meaningful. And gosh, the scholarship that they're able to give these ladies is absolutely insane and amazing. But you've got amazing directors and people behind it that cares for not just the queen, but all of the delegates that are attending that pageant.
Right. I mean, when I won Miss Tennessee, I won $13,000 in scholarship just from that year. And that's not even including like the preliminary wins or anything else. I think I ended up winning close to $16,000 that year. And from my time competing, I won almost $50,000 in scholarship. That paid for of my junior and senior year of college. That paid for my grad school. And we love an in-state grad school moment. But you just have to think about, like, if these people are taking the time to invest this in me, then I want to make sure that I'm giving that back in tenfold. And like, it opens so many doors. Like, what's even more valuable than the scholarship to me is the opportunities, the doors that open for you, the people you meet. It's a crown on your head, not to trivialize it, but a crown on your head will open doors in ways that you can't imagine.
Exactly. So speaking of crowns, and we're talking about just different organizations, different pageants, you have held many crowns on your head and have done a lot with different crowns. So moving forward, you went on to capture the title of America's Idol Miss 2021, which is a new system that again is embracing and coming up. And goodness gracious, they got a lot of contestants that
Oh my
are
gosh.
going to be attending the pageant this year. What was the process of leading up to capturing that prestigious title?
So that one was a lot different than what I'm used to be honest. Rodney Hollander, who I call my pageant dad, he was my director when I was Miss Chattanooga and Miss Scenic City, and lives maybe 10 minutes from me here in Chattanooga, and I adore him. And now he's the Idol Miss director for Tennessee. He was the most winning director in Tennessee history with the MAO organization. He had 10 Miss Tennessees. He had three of us back to back to back. Like, and I adore Rodney, and all the time people are like, "Oh, is he your dad?" I'm like, "Sure, it's fine." My poor dad, my poor Steve will deal with it one day, but like, I was like, "There's a couple dads around here. I'm sorry." So he had told me he knew Neely Musgrave, the director of America's Ideal Miss. She's from the Chattanooga area,
Okay.
and his sister Pam and Neely had competed around the same time. I think there were a couple years difference.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I just feel like you need a pick me up. Like, I feel like you're kind of like, you've done some of these things, like, but I just feel like you have all this stuff, you have all this wardrobe, you kind of just been preparing for something. Like, I just feel like this is meant for you. What do you think about doing this pageant in 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "It's in Atlanta. It's a 2-hour drive. Like, let's just go."
2 weeks.
So he comes over. We're in my living room. He's like, you've got everything. All you have to do is pay an entry fee. Let's go. Like, it'll be fun." So we go. I almost forgot to tell my parents I was doing it. And I'm calling them in Memphis like, "Hey, you may want to buy a plane ticket. Love you, bye." And because it's a quick little drive for me, but in Memphis it's more like 6-7 hours. So he's like, it's not as much required. Like, the interview is only 4 minutes, whereas I'm used to like a 10-12 minute interview. Mm-hmm. It's very relaxed. Like, and there's $130,000 prize package, and I believe it's only grown over the years. Let's just go. And so 2 weeks before we decided to do everything, Neely was so precious, and I was like, "Hey, my name's Christine. This looks amazing. Can I do it?" And we packed up and went, and I was cracking up because he wanted me to wear my ponytail extension for something, and we left it at his salon. He's like, "Christine, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Rodney, I think we'll make it." But we packed up, went to Atlanta, had so much fun. We've been through so many crazy adventures over the years that it felt like the icing on the cake. It was really funny. I'm very particular about my hair and makeup, and I don't like most people doing it, especially makeup. But we realized that was the first time he'd ever styled my hair. It was like, "I've known you for how long? And this is the first time you've ever like put a curling iron in my hair?" But we went, we had a blast. The girls were amazing. Neely put together a spectacular pageant. It was just so much fun, and it was really cool because the area it's in, you stay at the hotel and you park your car, and you really don't have to see it unless you leave, because everything's just walking distance. And oh my gosh, we had a blast, and I was so excited that I was able to take home the crown. I actually have one's way over there, but it was so big that my little bitty Ashlyn couldn't wear it because it was so big, so we had to get a smaller one. I mean, it's like, it's my tree topper at Christmas. Like, it's huge. Oh, but goodness. It was so big, I'm like holding it on her head when we're doing our walk. But Neely does a first class job. She took us to Sherry Hill Fashion Week. My princess and junior princess actually got to walk in the Sherry Hill Fashion Show, which was wild. Oh my goodness. We just had a blast. Like, we had so much fun with all the events we did. And it was also great because, like, being someone that supports myself and works full time, she made it very flexible where like, in this point in my life, I wouldn't be competing for something with a job. Mm-hmm. This was still promoting the pageant. It was still being involved, being able to promote my platform as needed. But it was also flexible to the fact of, like, your girl works 60 hours a week minimum. But it was so much fun. Had no idea I was going to compete again. But anything Rodney says, I'll do. So.
Yeah, I gotcha. That's awesome. That is so amazing. I cannot believe that you got ready and prepared in 2 weeks, but that just shows how much of a pro you are. Like, you picked up, he was like, "You got everything, let's go."
He was like, "You bought it, why not use it?" In fun fashion, I've always wanted to do fun fashion. So I was like, what are we doing? And he was like, okay, we've got a few options. At first, he was thinking it was more of a theme where he was like, we should use your Elvis outfit from Show Me Your Shoes. And then we started
Yeah.
looking at, and I was like, maybe not that. But it was, I've judged pageants where they've done fun fashion. And so getting to finally do it, I was so excited.
Oh my goodness. Well, you definitely competed. I actually remember watching it, and you definitely competed and did amazing on stage
Thank
as
you.
always. But we're talking about some, Rodney, which I absolutely adore and love Rodney. My mother does as well. Like, he was a big part of me growing up, especially when I was in with the MAO organization. Again, at 17, he's seen the beginning stages of becoming a woman, but throughout your pageant career and even recently, who has been your biggest supporters?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Rodney, but I think we've all established that I love, adore him, would take a bullet for that man any day of the week. I would also to mention, I mean, Allison DeMarcus with the Miss Volunteer America program has been like a big sister to me. She made everything about the volunteer program my decision. She has become a friend that I consider family, as has her mother Jane, and I lived with Miss Jane leading up to Miss America, and her sister Amy was my media coach, and they are, I can't say enough on just how incredible they are, and I adore their kids. At this point, I'm like, these are mine. Hate it for y'all. They're mine now. Paige Dennis with Joanne's, like, she has dressed me for anything and everything, and I appreciate her continued support. But I can't even think. Charisma Goodwin for letting me do updated adult headshots where I'm like, hey, can you make me look like, can we do a corporate LinkedIn headshot? So many people that I can't even begin to think. I mean, of course, my parents, because they're amazing. And I have the best little sister in the entire world. She was stopping in Jackson to pick up one of my parents' dogs. And she stops at the Civic Center last week. And I'm like, I didn't even know you'd be in Jackson. She's like, I'm currently in Lulu biker shorts with no makeup on, and I just drove from Knoxville. Can you please sneak me in the back? I'm like, it's like you've never been to Jackson. What do you mean you're not wearing eyeliner? But she has been, even when I was getting ready for Miss America, she was like my little business manager, my biggest cheerleader. Like, I'm very, very blessed to have such a great family and so many people that have stuck around and supported me for so long.
Yeah, and that's really cool that you have a group of people. And a lot of girls, they always try to stick with one specific person, and that's okay. But I
For
feel like
sure.
everyone is super successful when they have a family. And I'm not using family just as your mother, your brother, sister, cousins. I am talking about your pageant family. You have a phenomenal with Allison, with Joanne's, with the dress store, and then you got Rodney. You have a group of people that have been through your corner, especially when you did have to go through the transition. But then also when you were
Absolutely.
at the highest point, you had just finished being part of the Miss Volunteer America organization. And there's the cat. He's
She was
here.
like, I'm ready.
You ready to be on screen during the interview?
Like, I was ready for Christine's cat. I am shocked that Winky hasn't made it up here. This is the
I mean,
quietest she's been all day.
appearance. But it's just amazing that you have this group of individuals that they have seen you during the lowest but the highest, and they love you for that, and you get to still be a part of the different organizations. That's the
Yes.
most important part, is being able to come back and bond and have that bond that's bonded. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. I
Now,
mean, and it really doesn't grow without, not to and keep going on this point, but I'll say this and I'll be quiet. But it is that thing of like, we can only grow as much as the shoulders of the people that we stand on, and
Mhm.
we can only like, these organizations will only grow as long as we come back to support them. And
Exactly.
especially when you and I were around, like in the pageant heyday, and like when Rodney's prelim was state, and it was so difficult to even get a prelim win. And when we come back and build it, we can't forget what this gave to us. And that's also why I'm passionate about it, because
Yes.
this helped me pay for college and my grad school. It
Mhm.
helped me find the job I have today. It helped me open doors that I never would have dreamed of walking through. But we
Exactly.
have to also remember that there are women that still need those opportunities. And while we may have shattered a
Mhm.
glass ceiling, we have to keep making sure that it's cracked open for the next generation of women.
Exactly. And, talking about being able to keep opening those glass ceilings and just making sure that they reach their goals and beyond and keep going. I love that you were able to get that money for college. And I know with me being part of the organization, and, you know, even with Mr. Rodney, you know, being a part of my journey, I was able to gain a lot of funding towards my college success. And it just, you know, it helped me so much that I was like, wow, this is an organization that I, you know, I want to be a part of. And I always try to send my girls to organizations that are similar, that whether they are older and they're trying to get into college, but that have people that are likewise, that are like me in the same aspect or like them, and they forge that bond so that when they are done with college, like we are, they can still have, you know, if they're still going to pursue pageantry, they are able to still say, okay, Rodney, what do I need to do? You know what I mean?
Right, because you have to have
Krishna, I need to get some new headshots done.
Because you have to have a Rodney, you have to have a Krishna, you have to have that person that is not only there to ground you, but is there to say, like, okay, here's a pivot that I'm thinking of, or here's this, or here's that. It's so important to have that tribe, because it's so much more than just a coach. And if you find that coach that's amazing and you bond with, fantastic. But having that tribe, yes, and having that tribe and that support system is so important.
Yes. So we've talked about all of your Crown experience, you know, from you going from one organization to another, then capturing another title, all the experience from volunteerism to actually being just mainly an ambassador for an organization. Life after the Crown, though, that may look a little different sometimes for different individuals. So life after the Crown, how has it felt to be on the opposite side of holding that title, whether it's being a co-host, media correspondence, which we just seen you recently
all
do,
and
it's Volunteer America, and you did phenomenal, but just so much more. How, you know, how has that felt to be on the opposite side of holding that title?
So I think for me, and I hope young women take this with them after watching this, I think for me it was, I don't want to say easy to walk away, like it's bittersweet. And I like, if you, there's a video of me taking off the crown for the last time on my TikTok of Miss Volunteer America, and it hit me when I finally took it off, and I was like, okay, this is over. And but I knew it wasn't over. I wanted to make sure that I was giving back. But that said, the reason that I was waking up at 4 a.m. to help email people for school tours, the reason that I was driving hours and hours and hours across the state is because, like, I had worked 5-6 years this opportunity, and I was going to make every moment of those 365 days last. The days that I was most upset were days when that was the year that both flu strains went around, and I got both. But the days that I was most upset were the days that I felt like I wasn't able to use, but I knew that I'm like, okay, you've got to recover and get better for these kids. You can't give them the flip. But the reason I think it was easier to transition to life after the crown is because I gave it everything I could have possibly done. Like, and I think one of the things that I wish I could preach to every girl competing is, when you compete, when you know there isn't one more interview question you could have prepped for, there isn't one more crunch you could have done, there isn't one more walk you could have done. When you step on that stage and you know that you have given it everything, that's when you'll feel your most confident. And the year that you have should feel similar. When you have given it everything you possibly have, you couldn't have hugged one more child, you couldn't have scheduled one more appearance, you couldn't have driven one more mile. Within reason, you have to take care of yourself. But when you have given it everything you have, you can walk away satisfied knowing you have done everything and you did a job well done. So for me, that made transitioning a lot easier. I took, after Tennessee Volunteer, I took a trip to Miami with one of my best friends, and I think a trip and like having something to look forward to after the crown is really important.
Yes.
But also finishing up whatever that is. I was working right after the crown. I was working part-time back here in Chattanooga as the CMO for a collection of boutiques that my godmom owns. Designed all our websites, set up our e-commerce, finished out my 2 master's degrees, and now I'm the director of creator service at Ubiquitous Influence. So I work with a smaller group of creators outside of our extended network of 7,000 creators, help negotiate deals for them. And I also help a little bit with our social media and filming stuff. And now with like the Crown Club that we started doing with Miss Volunteer America, I'm like, can we do this full time? Like, I love Ubiquitous. I love my job. I love Startup Life. I love my colleagues. But I'm not saying that if someone wants to fund that I wouldn't jump at the opportunity.
Here's the ad,
because it was a blast.
You heard her with the ad. If they want to fund it, contact Miss Volunteer America, and she can be there, and she will be ready to go.
Every state pageant, we'll do updates. It'll be great. Like, at this point, I'm like, Welcome back to the Crown Cat Club with Christine and her 2 cats. What were you thinking when you ate all of Winky's food this morning, Diesel? Like, that's where I'm at right now because I'm still running on the adrenaline.
Well,
But
I love
it's
that
fine.
you had a plan of action. You had something to look forward to after life with the crown. Because I mean, you did have a very long time where you were holding preliminary titles. You held a state title, then another state title, and then you did have just a little bit of a space, but then you gained another title. So I feel like it's you're so used to the, anybody can be so used to the pageant lifestyle that when it's gone, you may feel empty. So I love that you were
Yeah.
telling everyone, have something to look forward to. I always say have a plan of action, just not
Yes.
pageantry, because at the end of the day, especially if you're older, you're going to have your everyday life, you're going to have your work, your job, things you're doing, but also have maybe a vacation set up, maybe try some new hobby, something different that you didn't get to do. I know for me, it was always for the last since 20, I've held a title since 2007. 2007. And this was my last title that I just held, a national title with another organization. And afterwards, I was like, we're going to go get colored nails, different toenail colors,
Right?
because I was like, it was my decision. My mother would be like, well, do you want these colors? And I'd be like, well, no, I'll just do, the regular French tip, of course, just so
I
I
was
can
gonna
look.
say I still got my MC nails.
Yep. I'm like, I'll do the French tip. But when after you get to explore a little bit more of things that you probably can't do when you were holding those
Yeah.
responsibilities and jobs, and you don't want to have like, a blue and white sash on with like pink and orange and yellow nails, and it just doesn't look, all put together. So like, I think that was something that I looked forward to, just like, I don't know, just doing something cool. But
But it is
I
the
do
little
think
things, and you have to find those. Like, I
yes, you
mean,
do.
I'm right there with you. Like, I'm like, I won't, every time I go to my nail girl, Bella's like, all right, what are we doing? And she was so shocked. I'm like, I need you to just do a basic. And this is the shortest she's seen me have in years. But it's the little things because you have to have that one thing to look forward to. But it's the little things. Like, what did you always want to do when you held a title that you are able to do now? Like, what's like, whether that's nails or maybe you want to have a pink streak in your hair, whatever that is, it's finding the little things because
The
if it's just
little
one
things.
thing, like you do need a
Exactly.
release, but it's the little things. It's the day to day, like what what did I enjoy about pageants? How can I still enjoy that to some extent? But what can I
Mhm.
look forward to now?
Exactly. And if anybody is, struggling with that again, that can feel like a complete emptiness that because you've gone around the whole entire year with that title, that organization. And even if that's getting your foot back into the pageant industry, or you're just like, you're done, and we'll talk about this a little later, reach out to Crown Talk with Burgundy. I'm pretty sure Christine wouldn't mind you reaching out and just being like, what should I do? What are some ideas? And we can help you figure out something. Again, that may be going on
Absolutely.
a vacation. That may be you still can be involved with pageantry, even though you're not competing. So you can, go to the different pageants, maybe indulge in helping other girls pursue their dreams and aspirations of whichever their pageant goals are and that they set forth. So figure out something, have
Absolutely.
a plan of action. And I know you and I, we both do corresponding things. So we're
Right.
still heavily involved in the pageant industry, even though we're not holding a crown and sash. But
And it's super fun. I mean, because then you're like, it's like, so they're like, will you ever? I'm like, the thought of competing again makes me want to throw up. Like, I loved every
exactly.
minute of it, but it's also like, I have peace with that time that's passed. But you and I are familiar with like, be still being involved and getting joy out of seeing other young women benefit from it. And I think when you learn that shift, it's a
Yeah.
really beautiful thing. And even if you're not coaching or if you don't have a hard and fast pageant business per se, if you enjoy it and you still want to be involved, there's a way.
Exactly. There's so many different ways and shapes and forms. And again, reach out to Crown Talk with Burgundy. We would love to help you in any way, shape, or form to find out what your niche is in the pageant industry. If you still want to stay connected, and get you connected with different organizations or an organization that you are with. But remember, if you are tuning in live right now, or you are just coming in to the scoop with Christine Williamson, we are talking about life after the crown, life before, when she was in the crown and in the spotlight. So we have so many more questions to ask her. So our next question is, what is your platform that you stand for and advocate for in your spare time?
So I'll always have a deep love for the Alzheimer's Association, which was my platform when I competed, and I find it more and more relevant every day. So I'll always be passionate and involved as much as I can. I'm still involved with the walk here in Chattanooga and Days on the Hill as I can be. COVID did make the virtual Day on the Hill a little bit easier to access, but I am still extremely passionate about the Alzheimer's Association. But one of my loves that I have found since being here in Chattanooga is I dove into this a little bit as a title holder, but more so now is the McCamey Animal Shelter. We're a no-kill shelter. It's where both of my cats are from.
Okay.
And I love everything about them. The McCamey family is absolutely precious. We're privately funded, so we have a lot of incredible opportunities. Anyone in the Chattanooga area is more than welcome to come fill out a form and volunteer. You do have to see Sapphire knew. She's like, she's talking about cats, Mom. And like, I had no intention of having a home for geriatric disabled cats, but here we are, and I have no regrets about it. But even if it's being there on days where I'm talking to families for our adopt-a-thons or helping clean out kennels or doing laundry, it's really rewarding to see these animals go home with loved ones. You can also follow McCamey Shelter on Instagram and TikTok, or McCamey Animal Center, I should say. We are completely no-kill. If we're at capacity and we find an animal, we will find a home for them or a no-kill shelter in the area, even if it means flying them. We have some amazing volunteers and donors. I would love to have a private plane that I could fly to take animals elsewhere. So
that would be pretty cool.
Hit your girl up if you have one and you feel like hanging out. But we're so grateful for people that have such amazing resources and donate their times and efforts. It's such an amazing program. Like, we have an outdoor shelter for cats that are indoor outdoor. We have horses, we have pigs, we have bunnies, we have turtles. You name it, we've probably fostered it. They do such great work, and that's become a huge passion of mine, is taking that time to get to volunteer there. I try to be there like every other week. Mm-hmm. We do events all over the place. If you go to a Petco or a PetSmart, I should say, around Chattanooga, you probably will see a McCamey cat in their shelters. That's the kind of passion project. I was not a cat lady until COVID. I was always a dog person, and I still love all animals, but my two little babies, Winky and Diesel, have my whole heart. Like,
they're so
my
cute
everything.
too.
And I wish Winky, I don't know why she's sleeping now, because usually she's very mad if I'm at my laptop after 6. But they're just seeing the stories. Like, Winky, I had no intention of getting. I was helping doing some media spots for Giving Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Like, we have in our notes that you had a one-eyed cat growing up. We have a one-eyed cat here who's the last of 14 that was rescued from a hoarder's home. And I am sobbing in the visiting room. And there's this I was going to get this little cat named Raja, and everyone's like, oh, like the princess, like Disney. And I'm like, no, from the Gucci line, obviously. No one knew what I was talking about.
You're like, excuse me, wrong area.
It's from the Bejeweled Tiger and the Gucci line. But this little cat comes out, and she has the crispiest meows, and she has stolen a quesadilla from me in the last week. And she's so sweet. And I was like, I can't leave her, because her eye was so infected when they found her that they had to remove it. And every animal that comes from McCamey is already microchipped, neutered, and has all their shots. So you are only responsible for the cost of adoption, which is around $30.
Oh, well, that's not bad at all.
So you can tell I'm very passionate about it. And if my landlord didn't cap me at 2 cats, I would have 20.
Well, I would love for you to send me the information, and definitely when I am posting our recap of what we've done tonight and talking to you, I definitely want to be able for everyone to be able to reach out and help in any way capacity. Also, I know with the Alzheimer's Association, you can head over to www.alz.org and you can get involved in your hometown. I know they have them all over the United States. So just figure out what would be best for you and how you can volunteer your time, whether that's helping and supporting by giving money or volunteering at an actual event. They have different events, races, whatever you want, your heart desires, they have it. But definitely, Christine, we would love to, especially me, I would love to be able to get involved.
I got you.
And just help in any way that I can, even if that's just grabbing food and stuff for them, or necessary things that they need. So I definitely send that to me, and I will post it in the link down below so that everybody can just kind of click on that and they know what's going on.
And there's room for everything, even with animals if individuals are struggling right now, the economy is in the tank. We do have an angel fund for if families that are struggling to make ends meet, especially, and then sometimes it's hard to think like, well, how do I feed my pet too? We do have an angel fund for
Wow.
up to 6 to 8 weeks to help families that are struggling.
That is amazing. That's something that you definitely
Right?
don't hear or see at any of the different shelters and things like that, or at least I've never heard of them at all.
Me
So that's
either.
actually pretty cool to be able that they have that funding for families so that they can help their animals. And I mean, they're their fur babies.
They are. And like the
So
last thing you want is for them to suffer. So a lot of families will surrender them out of the goodness of their heart. But
yeah.
at the same time, if we can help make ends meet for that time, we
Yeah.
do. So more than happy to send that so we can share that with everyone.
That is absolutely amazing. That is just, oh my goodness. I'm actually really excited about that. I know that I will definitely be helping in any way, shape, or form, especially with, well, you know, what happened yesterday. And if any of
Yes.
my friends are tuning in live, they know, but, you know, being able just to give back
Anything for the
to
fur
the animals.
babies.
I know my fur babies, as you can tell, they are my fur babies. I post them all the time. I even celebrate their birthdays. They have birthday parties.
As you should. As you should.
Yeah, no, I would love to donate and help. And then, of course, our viewers, we want you to be able to help as well. So, Christine, send me that via text. You can totally do it later. But we have some more questions that we have to ask you. What advice can you give these ladies that are going to be preparing for a national pageant or has given up their title or either taken a break from pageantry and hanging up their heels? Like, what is some advice you can give them?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, if you're preparing for a pageant, whether that's local, state, or national, I think I'm big on goals and timelines. So making a timeline so you know what goals you have to hit is pivotal. And
Mhm.
I just think that you can't do anything better than that. But because then when you hit your goals in the time frame that you've set ahead, it's going to help you be that much more successful because we all do better with deadlines. When we have an ambiguous date in the future, it's easy to keep putting it off and putting it off. But when you
Yeah.
hit that stage and you know that you have done every single thing you possibly can, there's a inexplicable confidence that you carry with yourself. And it is such a good feeling, whether it's interview or evening gown or fitness, you are going to feel so prepared and so sure of yourself. That's my biggest piece of advice. And I would say my second biggest piece of advice is the running joke with when we were getting ready for Miss America is that everyone kept calling me Sea Biscuit. They're like, you're the thoroughbred we've been waiting on. And I'm like, I've never been so flattered in my life. But in that vein, I've always thought about it as like a racehorse that puts blinders on. You don't
Mhm.
look to the left or the right, you focus on the path ahead. When
I
you
love
look to the left or the right, you start to get distracted. Your competition doesn't matter. This is a one-man sport.
that.
Now, the preparation to there involves a lot of people. However, the actual race itself is a one woman, or not one man, one woman sport. Because you are only focused on the path ahead, the people around you don't affect you. One girl's performance is going to be completely different than yours. It doesn't make it better, worse, or otherwise. Your performance is all that matters. And the second you start looking this way or that way, you're off course and you're slowing down. So put your blinders on and think about you. And that also is true when it comes to after the fact. Like a lot, let me preface this by saying there is nothing wrong with getting married after competing. If you have been with your high school sweetheart and that's who you want to be with, and you know that you're going to get proposed to at the pageant, you go for it. You do it. But I will say, I feel like it's very easy to fall into the path of getting married because it feels like the next right step, right? And if that's your path and that's what feels right for you, and you know in your heart of hearts that's where you're supposed to go, do it. So let me just preface all that with that. If that, no one can decide what's right for your path for you except for you. But don't just get married because it's the next thing.
Yeah.
Have your next thing that's your goal because it works for you. If getting married is a part of that goal, go for it. You walk down the aisle and you have that princess moment and you wear that white dress. Do it. But no one can determine that path except for you.
Exactly.
Maybe you need a little bit more time to figure out what you want out of life before you get married, even though you know you're with the love of your life. Maybe that's figuring out what you really want with your career.
Exactly.
I was very, very fortunate and was able to throw myself into my job, finish my master's, and then find a job that's become a career that I've really fallen head over heels in love with. And now I'm the director of my department.
Mhm.
And the startup world is interesting and fast paced and ever changing. So it keeps me on my toes. But I'm still able to keep one foot in the door as far as pageants go. And that's been a healthy balance for me. But that said, COVID, as awful as it was, it did come at the right time because it gave me time to really think about what I wanted and what those next steps look like. But so that
Yeah.
said, I think make sure you have something to look forward to if you're giving up your title. If you're taking a gap and you're trying to decide, do I want to compete for this? Do I not? Take that time, but also have a deadline for when you're going to evaluate it so you don't age out and you're not
exactly.
Oh, that would have been nice to know 6 months ago, because like it hit me the other day. I was like, well, if I wanted to do USA, I would have already aged out. And I'm like, what I don't want to say trigger because it's not the right word. What signaled to me that I knew I was doing the right thing was I didn't feel any regret. I didn't feel, I was like, I'm good. I'm done. I love my involvement with where it's at, but I'm good. Like, I don't feel anything. I'm like, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, it felt like I'm so excited for the girls that are going to be involved, but I'm okay. Like, I'm done.
Yes.
But taking a moment to just think about like what, similar to with pageants when they tell you to think pie in the sky, like what would my goal be as my legacy is, or what would my pie in the sky be as my title? Think the same thing about your career. How can you use the title you have to get you to that? Like how can you use the opportunities you have now to leverage that? And think about that while you still have the title, and it can still help open doors. Because even as a former, like Saturday, I think it is, I'm singing the national anthem for a soccer game. And it's someone that said, like, we all knew you were Miss Tennessee 2018. And I'm like, really? You did? That's cool. Like, so I mean, it will still open doors. It will still continue to create new paths for you. But when you're in that current moment, and as hard as it is to focus on the future because you've got a million things moving in a million different directions you're being pulled in, think about what your pie in the sky dream is next, because it's so important to try to take advantage of the opportunities you have now to get you there.
Exactly. And I love how you said have a timeline. I know that, just kind of a background with me, I specifically was, I guess at 26 years old, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to step into that role of getting married. And
when you
my
know,
husband, well, we were engaged at first, and we decided, that love wasn't going to last forever. And I decided to go to Miss Grand United States, and I did phenomenal there. I made all top 15, got congeniality, got some other awards. And I was like, this is what my purpose was to continue. And then I was like, you know what? I was like, after a certain amount of time of holding that title, we ended up getting back together. And my mother was like, you really should do a Ms. and MS title. And I was like, no, that's for old people. I kept saying that. That was my whole thing. I was like, I don't want people thinking I'm old. I'm 26, 27. Don't want people thinking I'm old. But it's not for older people. At the time, I was young, didn't understand that. And I went to my first Ms. pageant, and every Ms. title that I went for,
someone wanted to come say hello, Mr. Diesel. Say hello. This is my big boy. He's very heavy.
But yeah, every Ms. title that I went for, I won. So I felt that it was God's blessing and him saying, you needed to take the time. And my timeline changed from me focusing on just Crown Talk with Burgundy and being just a pageant girl to me exploring and actually going through the Ms. divisions and going through the fair, and then advancing to the state title, and then advancing to a national pageant. But in between that, I had 2 other pageants I won. And I was like, okay, maybe that was what I was supposed to do before I got married, because he reunited me and my husband together. And after I gave up my title, 3 months later, I was married to my husband. And now I'm ready. Not now. We wait, so no one get any ideas. I'm not going into the Mrs. division yet. I'm not competing yet. I'm taking my retirement years for right now. But it's a timeline effect. It's being able to set those goals and those boundaries. I have goals. You have goals. So we want you to be able to figure out a timeline effect, figure out that setting those goals, figure out what your career is going to be. I know with mine, between actually holding that pageant title and getting married, I ended up starting a whole nother business in a whole different industry with weddings. So it definitely, it took me a different way, but because of pageantry and being able to know how to speak and learning how to do interviews, I am successful at my other job as well. And believe it, I never thought in a million years I'd be a wedding day of coordinator.
That doesn't surprise me, because when you're used to adapting and changing in this incredibly grandiose moment, you're used to all those feelings. Like that makes perfect
Yes.
sense to me.
It's like,
But
you know what to do, because at pageants, you may have to change the walking pattern. You may have a wardrobe malfunction, and you don't have time to be like, oh no, what's going on? You have to adapt and keep going. And you have to put a smile on your face and keep it going. And changes may happen. And, again, it goes back to being able to know what that career path is going to be for you, know what's going to be next for you, but setting those goals, not saying wishing your life away, but at least setting those goals so that you can conquer them.
Absolutely. I mean, and even like you said, with the walking pattern, I think there's an adaptability there where it's, I mean, this past week, girls asked me, what's the walking pattern going to be? I'm like, I don't even know what the stage looks like. See in Jackson. So, I mean, but it is that adaptability. Like you said, it's knowing it's okay to have all this, but it's also okay to flex, and it's okay to shift and change based on your life, because your life is going to change. So who you are is going to change.
And you never know what's going to happen. So you just have to go along the ride, have fun. I mean, even if you have a child that is younger, and this is for my younger viewers, if you have someone that is younger, it is okay to give them breaks. Give them a year break in between. They may be going through a gap year where they are 12, but they're going to be 13, but they would have to be in the preteen division, but they're going to be 13, and it just may be weird. So give them a break and practice during that break time. And that also goes for anybody that is taking a break. Practice. And that's not, I'm not saying
the prep never stops.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily go to your coach all the time, but take the tools that they have given you and practice those tools, and then go back and give them, they will give you the ammunition to keep that engine going. So you want to make sure that you're still practicing if you're taking a break. And lastly, if you're hanging up your heels, again, have that timeline, figure out what you want to do next in your life, but don't wait until everything is over, because then it's going to be devastating.
It will be an identity crisis. And
exactly. You're going to be like, where's my crown and sash? Where's my heels?
It is like there, and you'll still have those moments. Like when I was watching the girls, I was like,
you're like, where's my crown?
And you'll still have those moments, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to think ahead. Otherwise, there is a difference. And I hope girls do consider this, of where there's you and there's the crown. Like there's you as Miss XYZ, and then there's just you, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, exactly. I mean, Christine as a title holder probably wouldn't have eaten a beef jerky stick in front of everyone, but like in my apartment by myself, I'm going to, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's knowing what's appropriate as a public figure versus what's appropriate in the privacy of your apartment. Like, am I going to bring my cat to an appearance? I wish, but I'm not going to. We totally would have brought our cats, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with knowing. I think it's important to know yourself versus yourself as a title holder, because that's also going to help guide that journey.
Exactly. 100%. I agree with you. Now, my last question to you. We've had so much fun. We've talked for like 2 hours, I think you and I have online.
I know, we could go for 3.
We know each other's life stories now. But what is next for Christine Williams? Like, what's the next for your career path, pageantry? What's next for you?
So for now, the whole Crown Club thing was a surprise to me last week, and I hope we keep that going. To my knowledge, we will. I hope we expand it into state pageants. I will be a Miss Missy volunteer co-emceeing, and so I'm excited for that. I absolutely love my job and my team at Ubiquitous as the Creator Services Director. So for now, it's a lot of continuing. I hope it involves a lot of sleep in the next week or so, because I am shot. But outside of that, I mean, I am really happy with where my life is at. Like, I enjoy being involved and getting to see these girls succeed. I love still getting to have a foot in the door with pageantry, but still having a life outside of it. And still, I think one thing that's been interesting to find after so many years of like fasted cardio and this days or you live with, like, finding what I enjoy and what balances me as far as physical output. That's kind of my next journey. Is I was really sad when my favorite kickboxing gym closed, because I was like, that's my therapy. I was like, that is my me time. But so finding different things of like ways that help me balance and move myself without overexerting myself, and understanding that I am perfect the way I am, regardless of what I look like in a swimsuit. And Diesel likes the way he looks in a swimsuit too. He's over here purring so loud. But so, even though we've been on a diet for a very long time, but also understanding that, like, accepting and loving who I am outside of that, and also finding what makes me feel my best. I think that's the most important thing, is what kind of movement, what kind of lifestyle, what kind of nutrition makes me feel my best and isn't
Yeah.
necessarily about the way I look.
Yes. And, I love that you've been very open on your social media sites about the image of everything, especially being inside the crown, but also outside the crown and actually after the crown. So I love that you've been very open. So anybody that is tuning in, if you go back and you just scroll and look at her beautiful photos of her, you can kind of just see her journey. And, mental health is very serious in our society today, especially nowadays. And I love that, again, as I said, you're very open. And I think it's quintessential that someone views the process of how you've been very open with everything that has happened in the past. But as you're moving on and you're successful, you're happy, you show that, with your business that you were working with being able to be, an MC, a co-MC, and then also being a media correspondent, but being able to show people the light. And of course, being a fur mommy, you are showing people that
Most
you
important
love.
part.
Yes, the support, like you love who you are as an individual, internally and externally, like you love everything about yourselves. And that's what I love. Again, I've been following you for years, since your Miss Tennessee days and Miss Chattanooga, Cynic City days, all that. And I've loved that you really have engaged with your audience and shown
Thank
them that
you.
you love yourself with the way that you look and what your healthy is. And so that I love that about you. So, but thank
Thank
you
you so much.
so much for coming to the show. We've come to the end of our show, but we have really learned so much about you and being able to understand who you are as an individual. So thank you so much for tuning in. And like, how can our audience learn and get to know more about you?
Yeah, well, thank you first of all so much for having me. This has been a blast. I'm like, I could stay for another hour and be fine.
Right.
You can follow me on everything at Christine Electra. There are two E's, or you can also visit my website at christineelectra.com. Surprise, spelled the same way. But I will send you all those links for McCamey as well, so anybody in the area can get involved. And you can donate online if you're not in the area. And would love to share a little bit of that so you can help family find their forever home, or fur baby find their forever home. But have really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on the show again. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I've posted down below. We have her Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then also we have the her website. But then she is going to send us more about the platform and cause that she is advocating for at all times and areas. And so we'll make sure that we post that on our social media site. So thank you again, Christine.
Thank
And
you.
I hope you have a wonderful day. Give your fur babies a big, big hug from me.
Oh, I will. Come here. You got it. I told you he's heavy. Come say
He's so
goodbye. He's like,
cute. Bye,
Mom.
baby.
Winky's down on the floor looking at him like, why? I know.
Why him? Well, thank you so much, Christine, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That was Christine Electra Williamson. Was she not amazing and such a beautiful woman? Oh my goodness, I absolutely love her from the inside out. She is just amazing. If you want to get to know more about her, please follow her on her Facebook, Instagram, or her TikTok, which is at Christine Electra, and that is with the two E's, the E at the end of her name and the E for Electra, on all of those social media platforms. But also you can visit her website at christineelectra.com. Now, if you want to follow Crown Talk with Burgundy, please follow us on our Instagram and Facebook at Crown Talk with Burgundy, and Burgundy is BYRGUNDY. Also, if you want to follow our YouTube, make sure you subscribe at Crown Talk with Burgundy. Keep commenting. And if you have any other questions, comment down below. We'll make sure that Christine, she gets those questions to you and she can come on here and post all she wants. Next up, we have our website at crowntalkwithburgundy.square.site. And last but not least, our radio talk shows. We have blogtalkradio.com/Crown Talk with Burgundy and the number 2, or blogtalkradio.com with Crown Talk with Burgundy. I leave you with my favorite quote: "You're never too young to be a role model."